Okay, Tom, this is just the end of unit feedback session. Can I put you at your ease by saying that I'm not here to test how many historical dates that you've learned and stuff like that. What we're trying to do is we're trying to find out the bits and pieces that you've gained, the experience you've gained from the lectures that you went to and the various performances that you've done so far this year.
Yeah.
Okay, can you tell me a little bit about the characteristics of your chosen art?
Well, first of all, we started off looking at realism and naturalism, Stanislavski, and his methods of putting something across that was real and the audience would relate to it.
Right.
And then we started moving on to Arto.
Okay, I could stop you there.
Yeah.
So, I'm not interested in dates. I know you probably got the dates. If we gave you your essays back, you'd be able to tell us about the dates. But can you explain how the things from the past have affected us now? You know.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. So explain how history has affected your art, if you.
Well, obviously, history is a key part of anything, but more so in performing arts. As to the Stanislavski method has been adapted and changed into another, which is called method acting,
okay.
And that came from Stanislavski. And yeah, all the ideas have either been adapted or kept the same from when they first started. Like you see a lot of surrealism in films and in theatre, and that came from Arto. So people have been taking stuff like that, and yeah, just everything like the methods, like expressionism and realisms.
Okay. So in the past there's been boundaries around things, and then these main practitioners, if you like, have pushed the boundaries out, and it's allowed you now as a performer to actually explore and experiment with all these various techniques. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, obviously there was boundaries because no one back then, everything was performed in a traditional theatre, which we got from the Greeks. No one had discovered site-specific or anything like that. But yeah, I think now that everything's been adapted and stuff, you can perform something literally anywhere.
Here's an interesting question. Do you think there are still new things out there to discover? Or do you think do you think that most things that are happening are what happened before?
I think there's always something new to discover. I can't quite think of anything that I'd discover. But I think there's always new things.
Or do you think it's an adaptation of something that's gone before? So you're using something that somebody else has already got and then pushing it in a new direction. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have done that now. Because I originally thought that site-specific came from the Greek times when they were performing in the big amphitheatres. Mm-hmm. Because I think site-specific is all about the audience's experience, the experience of the actor, and obviously if you're performing in a big amphitheatre, the audience will have a better experience than in a little room.
Okay.
So I believe that site-specific has been adapted, but now it's just on a whole different level, like you're performing in the woods like we did, or in mills, swimming pools,
okay.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree with all that. Can you show how past practice has affected your current practice? So now in what you're doing, how things from the past are affecting you and what you do in your performance, your devising and all the rest of it that you're working on. Can you show any of that?
Like what we've done is I find that I like to do naturalistic acting.
Right.
Because it's just you get to act as someone else's state or do it your way, but put it onto stage, put your views on stage. I also like method acting because I like it, but I've never got properly into it.
Right, so there's still some way to go for that.
For the method acting, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Some of the key movements and styles that you've looked at in your brief collection of lectures.
Well, I definitely think that one of the key movements was Arto.
Okay.
And his surrealism and cruelty of theatre. That's something that I like to do. I like to get the audience to think about what they're seeing. Because of that, I think that's what theatre's about, making the audience go out with an opinion or changing the opinion. And I think that's key. And I also like his techniques.
Give us an example of a technique.
Of everything just being weird. He used to use sound and weird sounds, not necessarily speaking. He used to just use sounds and weird movements and stuff like that.
Is that to create an atmosphere?
Yeah, to create a dream-like hell-like atmosphere. Yeah.
Okay. So we mentioned that you've talked about performance spaces, performing in a traditional space and outdoor space. How has your practical work been affected? Well, we've talked a little bit about that. Can you relate any of the stuff that you do in the historical unit to any of the other units? You're doing contemporary acting at the moment, and you've also got a research project. We'll talk later about the research project, but your contemporary practice and what you're actually working on at the moment. Can you talk a little bit about?
Yeah, we're doing This Is England at the moment, which was a film that we thought it'd be a brilliant idea to put it onto theatre. As that is extremely contemporary. It has crossed views, and I think it relates to something that's going on in the world, like with racism and stuff like that. So I think it'd be brilliant to just get an audience in of all different races and stuff, just to watch it and
to see what happens.
Yeah, to see how they react, if they think of us as actors or us being racist, which we're obviously not, but just to see.
So it's got issues, and and you're using your drama skills to produce a piece of work that's got issues that will allow people to make their own minds up. So again, you're doing a challenging performance, and you'd like to think of the ideas of Arto and people like that.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging because he's playing someone completely different to who I am.
Okay.
So obviously you've got to use techniques within that. You've got to research the character, also, almost like method acting, but I'm not going to go to that length.
Okay.
But yeah, you've got to research races and stuff. What we call the skinheads. You've got to research.
So we're going back in history to look at 1970s, 1980s.
Yeah.
Right. So again, you're using historical knowledge from one unit, transferring it into another unit.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that idea. Now I'm going to ask you about your research project that you're going to do in the third term. You mentioned something about that before. What are you thinking?
I'm doing something that's in the news quite a lot, and I don't think people take as much notice or as much care as they should. I'm going to outline the effects of being in the army.
Okay.
And coming out and then going through stress, because I don't think that people that come out of the army can adjust to normal life and they don't get as much help as needed. And
we mentioned that you're going to link that to drama and theatre, in that you're going to look at how you're going to portray that using certain techniques. And what
well, we've been interviewing people who have been in the army. We've been interviewed one by now, and we've got some stories which we're going to put into the performance, just the way he acts in general.
Right.
So yeah, and we're going to.
Are you going to develop your method acting as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think we're going to go we're going to bring it up a notch this time. We're going to live like the army people. Like we're going to go on runs with one of the people that I interviewed, and he's going to be shouting at us and stuff, and just like they would in the training.
Okay.
So we're taking that to a whole different level now.
So the last thing that I want to do is want to talk about transferable skills and future developments. If you were a workshop leader or a facilitator or a group leader, do you think that with the skills that you've learned from the historical unit and some of the things that you've learned in the past, that you would have the ability to develop your own project?
Yeah, definitely. I think it'd be, because I've got one mindset, like what I like to do. It's weird and aggressive theatre, but with the skills that I've learned, such as the practitioners that I've looked at, the history of traditional theatre and site-specific and stuff like that, I think I could definitely lead a group and
be able to do it before.
Get a cracking show out of it, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Tom.